Brazil, the only nation to win the World Cup 5 times. The country that gave football some of its greatest legends: Pele, Ronaldo, Ronaldinho, Neymar. For decades, Brazil wasn't just a football team, they were football itself. But today, things feel different. The yellow shirt that once terrified opponents no longer carries the same fear. And despite having some of the most talented players in the world, Brazil haven't won a World Cup in over 2 decades. So the question is, what happened to Brazil? There was a time when watching Brazil felt like watching football in its purest form. Skill, creativity, confidence, joy, and their style of playing football, joga bonito. From Pele's dominance in the 1950s and 60s to the magic of Ronaldo and Ronaldinho in 2002, Brazil became the standard every football nation wanted to reach. They weren't just winning, they were entertaining the world while doing it. Every generation seemed to produce another superstar, another icon, another reason for fans to believe that Brazil would always remain on top. And for a long time, they did. But football changes, and eventually, even giants began to fall. After lifting the World Cup in 2002, Brazil entered a strange period. The talent was still there, the expectations were still there, but the trophies weren't. World Cup after World Cup, disappointment followed. In 2006, a star-studded Brazilian side was knocked out by Zinedine Zidane's France. 4 years later, in 2010, they suffered another painful exit at the hands of Netherlands, who'd go on to reach the final. The talent was never the problem, but somehow Brazil kept falling short when it mattered the most. Then came 2014, the tournament that would change everything. Brazil were hosting the World Cup on home soil. The entire nation believed destiny was on their side. But what happened next became one of the darkest nights in football history. Germany vs Brazil, semi-final 2014 World Cup. 90 minutes away from a World Cup final at home. Standing in their way was one of the greatest international teams of the modern era, a German side filled with world-class players. Thomas Muller, the Remediator; Miroslav Klose, top scorer in World Cup history; Toni Kroos, the German sniper; Mats Hummels, one of the best centre-back at that time; Manuel Neuer, the best goalkeeper of all time. A team at the peak of its power. But nobody expected what happened next. Instead, Brazil suffered a humiliation that football fans will never forget. 7-1, a scoreline so shocking that it feels unreal today. It wasn't just a defeat, it was the moment the myth of invincible Brazil truly shattered. For the first time, the football world began asking whether Brazil had lost its identity, whether the nation that once defined football had been less. One man carried the weight of an entire nation on his shoulder. Neymar da Silva Santos Jr. When he emerged at Santos, many believed Brazil had finally found the heir to Pele, the player who would bring the World Cup back home. The expectations were enormous, and for years, Neymar did everything he could live up to them. He became Brazil's all-time leading goal scorer, won trophies in Europe, produced unforgettable moments for his country. But his international career was also filled with heartbreak. The injury that ruled him out of the 2014 semi-final, the painful exits in 2018 and 2022, and the constant pressure of being expected to save an entire nation. For over a decade, Neymar was Brazil, but now at 34 years old, with injuries beginning to catch up to him, this could be his final chance on the football's biggest stage, his last dance. One final opportunity to complete the story that has defined his entire career, to bring the World Cup back to Brazil. More than a decade has passed since that night, and Brazil are still searching for answers. They continue to produce incredible talents: Vinicius Jr, Rafinha, Endrick, world-class players capable of changing games in seconds. Yet questions remain: do they have the right balance? Do they have enough leaders? And most importantly, do they have what it takes to bring the World Cup back to Brazil? To answer that question, we need to look at that current squad and see whether this generation can restore Brazil to the top of world football once again. Let's break down this Brazil squad position by position and find out if they really have what it takes to win the 2026 World Cup. Starting between the posts, the GK should not be a doubt. Alisson will play the whole tournament. In the back, there should be absolutely no debate about Brazil's centre-back partnership. Marquinhos, the captain, a leader, and a back-to-back Champions League winner, one should be one of the first names on the team sheet. Alongside him, Gabriel Magalhaes has to start. In my opinion, he is currently one of the best centre-back in world football. In fact, I genuinely believe that Brazil have the second best centre-back pairing in the entire tournament, only behind France. Now let's move to the fullback positions. On the right, Wesley should be the preferred option, while on the left, Alexandro should get the nod. And if we are being honest, these are probably the weakest position in this Brazilian squad. The good news is that Brazil still have solid defensive depth, with players like Bremer, Danilo, and Ibanez available as backup options. Moving into the midfield, this is where things starts getting controversial. A lot of fans have questioned some of the selection. Personally, I would have liked to see Andre Santos and Ederson called up ahead of Lucas Paqueta and Fabinho. But the squad is already decided, so now it's all about making it work. For me, the double pivot picks itself. Bruno Guimaraes and Casemiro should start without any doubt. After that, things get a little more complicated. Carlo Ancelotti can set this team up in two different ways, either a 4-2-3-1 or a 4-4-2. If Brazil line up in a 4-2-3-1, then Matheus Cunha should operate as the number 10, with Neymar serving as backup option. And speaking of Neymar, this is probably the biggest storyline surrounding Brazil heading into the tournament. A few years ago, there would have been no debate. The team was built around him. Today, things are different. Age and injuries have taken their role, and Brazil can no longer rely on Neymar to carry the entire nation by himself. But even if he is no longer the main man, his experience could be immense. This might be his final World Cup, his final chance to achieve the one thing missing from his legendary career. And if Brazil are going to make a deep run, Neymar's leadership and creativity should play a massive role. On the left wing, Vinicius Jr is the superstar of this team. A huge amount of responsibility will fall on his shoulders if Brazil are going to make a deep run. On the right, it's clear Rafinha should start, while young Ryan provides an exciting backup option. Now let's talk about the striker position. This was probably the most controversial selection of all. Many fans were asking why Joao Pedro didn't get a call up. And honestly, I think he deserved a place ahead of both Endrick and Igor Thiago. But Carlo Ancelotti clearly has a plan, and at this point, all we can do is trust it. If the decision were mine, I would start Endrick. However, based on Brazil's recent matches, it feels like Ancelotti doesn't fully trust the younger forwards just yet. Because of that, I think Igor Thiago will start most of the games, while Endrick will be used as an impact substitute from the bench. If Brazil switch to a 4-4-2, then Matheus Cunha would likely move to the left side of midfield. Rafinha would play on the right, and Vinicius Jr would partner Igor Thiago up front. So, how far can this Brazil team actually go? For me, there's no doubt they have quality, there's talent all over the pitch, but I still think this squad lacks experience in key moments. And if I am being completely honest, I don't fully trust this group yet. This might be a bold prediction, but I think Brazil will be one of the biggest surprises of the tournament. Unfortunately, for Brazilian fans, I think that surprise will be negative one. My prediction: Brazil getting knocked out in round of 32. That was my opinion. So, what do you guys think? Can Brazil finally win their sixth World Cup? Or will another heartbreak be waiting for them? Let me know your prediction in the comments below. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, obrigado and goodbye.